Hi, I'm Lacey. My sister stole my husband, and somehow my family acted like I was the problem. But that wasn't the worst part. They welcomed her in like nothing happened, while quietly pushing me out. Now they're smiling at dinners, planning holidays, without me. But when I brought my new man to the table, everything changed. Want to know what I exposed and who broke first? The text from Dean came in while I was rinsing coffee mugs from the night before. Hey, don't forget Mom's birthday dinner on Saturday. She wants everyone there. Jolene and Trent already confirmed. I stared at the screen, my hands still dripping over the sink. No invitation from Mom, no call, just Dean, doing what Dean always does, relaying her messages like a neutral postman, as if that softened the insult. Ellis stood a few feet away, humming while scrambling eggs, completely unaware of the knot twisting in my chest. Sadie, still in her pajamas, was coloring at the table, oblivious, blessedly innocent. I locked my phone and turned to grab plates. My voice didn't shake, but it should have. Dean texted, "Dinner's at Mom's Saturday night. Jolene and Trent are going." Ellis glanced up, his brow tensing just enough. "Do you want to go?" That question hung in the air like steam above the skillet. 2 years ago, I remember the morning Trent told me he wanted out. No warning, no fight the night before, just eggs, toast, and the sentence that shattered our marriage. "I don't think I love you anymore." What he didn't say, what I learned 3 weeks later, was that he'd already been talking to Jolene, my sister, the same woman who sat at my table during holidays, asked for my recipes, told me I was too good for Trent when we fought. I overheard them once, just after the separation. They thought I was asleep upstairs. She whispered, "She'll be fine, she always is." And Trent? He just laughed. I didn't cry that night. I didn't scream. I packed a box, then another, and I left. No one in the family called me to ask what happened, not once. But 2 months later, Mom sent a group photo from her patio, Trent and Jolene holding hands beside the grill, and I knew, without a doubt, that they had chosen. "Back to now, I'll go," I said, placing a plate in front of Sadie. "We'll all go." Ellis looked at me again, searching my face. "Are you sure?" I nodded. "They need to see us, all of us." Sadie looked up, eyes bright. "Grandma's house? Are there going to be balloons?" I smiled for her. "Maybe. You'll wear your sunflower dress." Inside, I was already assembling the armor. Later, Ellis found me folding laundry in our bedroom, the silence between us heavier than any pile of clothes. He leaned on the doorframe, arms crossed. "We don't have to go. It's your choice." "That's exactly why we do go," I said. "No more letting them define who belongs and who doesn't." He walked in, handed me a blouse, and asked quietly, "What are you planning?" I folded it slowly. "If this dinner is where they want the show to start, I'll bring the spotlight." Chapter 1. I'd been folding laundry when the itch started. That restless need to clean, to sort, to do something mindless, so the thoughts didn't pile up on top of each other. I told Ellis I was going to check the storage drive for a receipt I needed for taxes. That wasn't a lie. I just didn't say I was also looking for a reason to feel something more useful than dread. I sat down at my desk and opened an old folder I hadn't touched in years. Most of it was junk. School forms, archived bills, random PDFs from when I thought scanning everything made me feel more in control. Then I saw it. A forwarded email with no subject line, dated about 3 weeks after Trent left. I clicked. The message was from my mother. Not to me, but to her friend Paula. "Jolene deserves happiness. Lacey will figure herself out. She always does." I leaned back in my chair. No blinking, no breathing. Just silence. Not shock. Confirmation. I wasn't imagining the favoritism. It wasn't in my head. It was in writing. For months, I'd told myself I was being dramatic, that maybe Mom had just been trying to keep the family from breaking apart. But she hadn't tried to keep it whole. She had picked a side, and I wasn't on it. I didn't cry. I saved the email, stared at it for another 5 minutes, then closed the laptop. The pain didn't paralyze me. It focused me. At Darlene's backyard pre-dinner gathering, the air was thick with forced smiles. Ellis helped Sadie pick at a paper plate of fruit. Dean leaned against the fence, always floating in the safe in between. And Jolene? She stood there in that awful floral dress, holding court as if nothing had ever happened. Then she looked at me. Not with apology, with calculation. "Well," she said, sipping her lemonade, "some people's marriages just weren't built to last. And it shows." It was a masterstroke. Said like a joke, delivered with a smile, but everyone knew where it landed. I didn't respond. I didn't flinch. I just excused myself and walked over to Sadie. Later that night, as I tucked her into bed, she asked, "Mom, is it true you weren't good enough for my real dad?" I stopped breathing. I brushed hair from her forehead and said softly, "I'm always good enough for you. And that's the only truth that matters." But something broke in me. Quietly. Finally. In our bedroom, Ellis sat reading emails. He glanced up when I entered. I must have looked different because he closed his laptop immediately. "What happened?" "I found something. An email. From my mom. She knew what Jolene was doing back then. She supported it." He waited, like he always does when I'm not done talking. "And now Jolene's trying to do the same to Sadie. I thought I could take it, ignore it. But it's not just about me anymore." Ellis nodded. "So what do you want to do?" I sat on the bed and looked him in the eye. "I want to end it. Not with yelling, not with drama. I want precision." He said nothing. Just reached over, took my hand, and squeezed once. I walked back to my desk, opened the email again, stared at it for a long second, and deleted it. I didn't need it anymore. I didn't need proof. I had purpose. Chapter 2. Sadie was quiet the entire ride home. She clutched her sketchbook like it might dissolve if she let go. I didn't ask why at first. I've learned to wait, to let the silence do the asking. We'd only stopped by Mom's for 20 minutes. One of those polite, orchestrated pop-ins she arranges when she doesn't want too many people in the room at once. I hadn't seen Jolene in weeks. Had hoped it would stay that way. But of course, there she was, on the patio, phone glued to her cheek, fake laughing like a wind-up doll. It wasn't until after dinner, when I passed by Sadie's room, that I saw her staring at the carpet, lip trembling. "What is it?" I asked, crouching beside her. She hesitated. "Aunt Jolene was on the phone. She didn't know I was behind the door." "What did she say?" "She called you a temp mom." Sadie's voice cracked. Is that like a substitute teacher? Are you going to leave too?" Something cracked deep in my chest. "No," I said immediately. "Never. You hear me? I'm your real mom in every way that matters." Sadie sniffled and nodded, but I could tell. Part of her wasn't sure. Part of her had been wounded in a way that would take more than words to heal. Later that evening, I was folding towels in the living room when Ellis walked in holding his phone, face tight. "You need to see this." He turned the screen to me. My heart dropped. A photo, me hugging Sadie during a charity picnic, had been posted online anonymously. The caption read, "No matter how hard she tries, blood doesn't lie." I sat down slowly, my legs suddenly weightless. "This isn't just gossip," Ellis said. "This was deliberate." I nodded, numb, my face, my daughter, her smile weaponized. Sadie walked in, rubbing her eyes. "Why do people hate us?" she asked. "Is it because I love you?" I bent down, took her into my arms. "They don't hate you, baby. They fear what they don't understand. You and me, we scare people like that because what we have, they can't fake it. They can't control it." She nodded again, more to reassure me than herself. After I tucked her in, I stood in the hallway staring at the family photos lining the wall. I used to think they told a story, of progression, of growth, of love won and kept. Now they felt like question marks, blurred proof of who we used to be. In the kitchen, Ellis poured coffee. Too late for it, but neither of us was going to sleep. "They keep coming at the softest parts," I said, voice quiet. Ellis looked up. "They think it'll break you." "No," I said. "They think it'll make me back down." We both knew who was behind the photo. Who else would twist the knife in private and then smile in public? I went to my office, pulled out a notepad, and began listing names, timelines, events. I wasn't just guessing anymore. I was tracking. The next morning I ran, miles without music, just the rhythm of my breath and my thoughts. Jolene's voice looped in my head like static. "Temp mom, temp mom, temp mom." She thought silence meant weakness. That absence meant surrender. But I wasn't disappearing. I was loading. When I got home, I opened my laptop and typed into the search bar, "How to trace anonymous social media leaks." Chapter 3. Ellis handed me his laptop with a quiet, measured calm that said he already knew what I'd find. "It came from Trent's iCloud," he said. "The image, the caption, all of it. It was sent from a synced device, probably his old iPad. Same metadata." I didn't blink. "Thank you." That was all I said. No tears, no shouting, just those 2 words. Because now I had what I needed. Not suspicion, not instinct, proof. This wasn't petty. It was deliberate. And it was war. Thanksgiving dinner at Mom's was exactly the kind of sanitized event she loved. Fall-themed napkins, matching place cards, a playlist of harmless jazz. And of course, Jolene in the center of it all. Her laughter was too loud, too artificial. Her dress too perfect for a casual dinner. Dean was already there when we arrived. He nodded at me but avoided Ellis's eyes. That told me everything. Mom hovered over Jolene, brushing imaginary lint off her shoulder. "You look radiant, darling," she said, ignoring the fact that I was standing right behind her. Ellis kept his hand gently on the small of my back. I didn't move away from him. I wanted them to see. The tension climbed through the hour like condensation up a glass. Slow, quiet, suffocating. Dinner was fine, forced pleasantries, overly polite remarks. And then Trent, napkin in lap, fork idly poking his green beans, said, "I guess some people rebound harder than others. Must be nice to have someone waiting in the wings when your marriage crumbles." He was looking at Ellis when he said it, but the barb was for me. The table froze. Ellis didn't respond. His jaw tightened, but his eyes stayed on Sadie, who was pushing a roll across her plate, unaware. I didn't stay quiet. I set my fork down, slowly, cleanly. "Funny thing about real men," I said. "They don't need to tear down others to feel like they matter. They just show up and stay." Jolene's smile faltered. Darlene looked down. Dean stiffened. "But Trent?" Trent just shrugged, like this was all a game. After dinner, I followed him into the hallway while the others began clearing plates. He turned around before I could say anything. "That little speech supposed to impress your audience?" I stepped closer. "You crossed the line when you went after my daughter. You crossed it again when you tried to bury my name at work." He smirked. "Can't take a little heat?" I didn't blink. "If you cross it again, I won't be the quiet one anymore. That's not a threat. That's a forecast." And for the first time, I saw it. Hesitation. He didn't speak, just adjusted his watch and walked away. Back in the car, Sadie slept in the back seat, head against the window, the glow of streetlights flickering across her cheek. Ellis reached over, placed his hand over mine. "I'm proud of you," he said. I didn't respond. I was already thinking about next week, already preparing. When we got home, I opened my phone and typed a message to Dean. "Make sure you're at Mom's next week. I won't be alone at the table again." Chapter 4. I hadn't meant to find it. I was looking up a client name when a link popped up in the sidebar, one of those buried old blog-style press releases. Ellis R. Whitaker, the quiet brain behind Blueform's 9-figure acquisition. My finger hovered over the trackpad. I clicked. There he was, my Ellis, in a suit, younger, leaner, less burdened. A man who had helped engineer a software company that got snatched up by a major tech firm 7 years ago. His name had been scrubbed from most current search results. He'd made sure of that. I stared at the article. Not because he was rich, but because he hadn't told me. Because he had buried this part of himself so deep, I never knew it existed. That night, when Sadie was asleep, I sat down across from him, holding my phone. "This is you." He didn't deny it, just exhaled. I didn't lie. I just didn't want that to be the reason someone stayed. I nodded. And what if I'd done the same? Hidden everything they'd done to me, the mess, the damage? Would you still trust what you saw? Ellis met my eyes. I didn't want to be your story, Lacey. I just wanted to be in it. And maybe that's what hurt the most. He had protected me from the truth the same way I used to protect my daughter from it, withholding, not to deceive, but to preserve. Still, I couldn't shake the echo of what he chose not to share. The next morning at work, my boss called me in. His face was stiff, all formal professionalism, hands clasped, voice leveled too carefully. "There's been a concern," he said. "An anonymous complaint." My stomach dropped. "They're claiming you engaged in unethical conduct with a client you're personally involved with. Financially, emotionally." "Ellis?" I asked, already knowing. He didn't confirm. He didn't have to. "HR has opened a review. I'm required to inform you." I nodded. My face didn't twitch. My body felt miles away from the chair I sat in. Afterward, I stood in the parking lot, staring at the sky, keys clenched so tightly in my palm they left marks. Ellis approached quietly. "What happened?" "They're coming for me at work now," I said. "Anonymous tip, perfect timing, perfect wording." He looked sick. "What do we do?" I looked him dead in the eye. "We don't let them tell my story, not anymore." That night in my home office, I pulled up emails, dates, text records. I lined them up, matched the timeline of that so-called complaint with one person's increasing silence, absence, and selective comments. Jolene. She had done it, or made someone else do it. But the fingerprints were hers. I printed the reports, highlighted phrases, logged everything. This wasn't reaction anymore. It was a map. Then I opened a blank document and titled it, Timeline of Defamation. Chapter 5. The receptionist didn't hesitate when I asked her to confirm who'd dropped off the envelope last week. "Some blonde woman said she was your cousin. Gave me this tight smile like she owned the place." My chest tightened. "Did she give a name?" "Nope," she said. "But she was tall, expensive-looking, very put together. Like someone who always wants to be seen, even when she pretends she doesn't." That was Jolene. I walked back to my office and closed the door. My hands weren't shaking. That surprised me. I felt steady, like ice forming under pressure. This wasn't just passive-aggressive jabs or whispers at dinner anymore. She had impersonated a relative to sabotage my career. I called Ellis as soon as I got home. He met me in the kitchen, still in his work shirt, sleeves rolled. I told him what I'd learned, every word. "She walked into my office," I said. "She lied about who she was and dropped that complaint anonymously. And I let her sit across from Sadie like we were just sisters with old wounds." Ellis leaned against the counter. "We'll go to your firm's legal team. You don't have to take this on your own." "No," I said, voice firm. "I do. This one's mine." After dinner, while Sadie brushed her teeth, I tucked away the last bit of folded laundry. She wandered into the hallway and paused like she wanted to say something, but was scared it might be the wrong moment. "What is it, honey?" She fidgeted with her pajama sleeve. "Aunt Jolene came over. Last week. When you were at your office." I stopped breathing. What did she want? "She said she was just dropping something off for Mr. Ellis. I didn't want to tell you, 'cause you seemed tired." I crouched to meet her eyes. "You did nothing wrong. Do you understand me?" She nodded, but I could see it, the worry buried in her chest. I pulled her close. "No one is ever going to use this house as a way to hurt you, ever again." Later, when the house was quiet and Sadie asleep, I sat across from Ellis at the kitchen table. "I've had enough," I said. "She's gone after my job, my name, and now she's using Sadie as a prop in her lies." "What's the move?" "She wants to ruin my credibility, fine, but she doesn't know how much I've already documented." Ellis reached for my hand. "You sure you're ready for that?" I was ready before she even started. I just didn't know it yet. That night, I logged into every account I owned, changed passwords, checked access logs. I pulled the security footage from our doorbell camera for the last 2 weeks. There she was. Timestamp, visual, entry and exit, clear as day. I grabbed my phone and texted Lorraine. "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest this time." I walked into my office, unlocked the bottom drawer of the filing cabinet, and pulled out the red folder I hadn't opened in over a year. Across the front, in thick black marker, it said, Contingency. I placed it on the desk and looked out the window. "Let her come. I'm done waiting." Chapter 6. Sadie handed me the drawing with the same innocent trust she gave me bedtime hugs. A house, a sun with a smiley face, and 2 people standing near a car. One of them was clearly Ellis. She had labeled him Daddy. The other was Jolene, and between them was a yellow rectangle, the only thing not colored in. "This is when Aunt Jolene came to visit Daddy," she said. My stomach went cold. "When was this, sweetheart?" She looked up thoughtfully. "Last week, the day you worked late. She said I wasn't supposed to tell you." I didn't flinch. I nodded, smiled, and kissed her temple. "Thank you for showing me." Then I walked into the bathroom and locked the door. I stared at my reflection and felt the crack inside me deepen. She hadn't just lied. She hadn't just smeared my name. She had entered my home, again. This time, through my daughter. That night, I showed Ellis the picture. He looked at it for a long time. "She said I always landed on my feet," he whispered. "That people like me shouldn't fall for people like you." I sat across from him, my heart grinding against my ribs. "And you didn't think I should know? I was trying to protect you. You've been through enough." "No," I said. "You were trying to protect me the way they do, by keeping me in the dark." He closed his eyes. "You're right." I wasn't trying to punish him, but something in our foundation had shifted. I needed truth now, raw, uncomfortable, whole. Nothing less. The next day, I met Lorraine at a local cafe. She arrived with her usual guarded look, but I didn't waste time. "Did Jolene know about Ellis from the beginning?" Lorraine stirred her tea slowly. "She knew. Months before you did. She overheard Trent's old business partner at a dinner. Jolene made it her mission after that." "To do what?" I asked, even though I already knew. "To make sure you never felt safe enough to stay." I sat back, the weight of everything settling into my spine. She wasn't just trying to win. She was trying to make sure I lost every version of happiness I touched. Back home that night, I pulled out the file I'd started and renamed it Exposure Plan. I opened folders, labeled screenshots, cross-referenced dates, everything from the leaked photo to the HR complaint to Sadie's drawing. I wasn't documenting trauma anymore. I was building a case. I looked at my reflection in the dark window. Not the broken version Jolene wanted, not the silence she counted on. "They wanted a victim," I whispered. "I gave them one, but not anymore." Then I reached for my phone, dialed. "I need you at the next dinner," I said, "and bring a recorder." Chapter 7. I didn't ask him again. I didn't need to. Ellis came to me that night with his jaw tight, and the truth finally ready to break through. "She approached me before we were ever serious," he said. "Said she just wanted to warn me about your patterns, that you always landed on your feet, usually on someone else's shoulders." I looked at him. "And you didn't think to mention that?" I thought she was bitter. I didn't think she'd go this far. I didn't want to hurt you. I nodded slowly. "You thought you were protecting my peace by hiding a war." He opened his mouth, then shut it again. "I don't need peace that's built on silence," I said. "That's how they've always controlled me." He didn't argue. This wasn't the kind of conversation that needed more words. Just understanding. Just distance I hadn't wanted to measure until now. The next day, I drove to Lorraine's flower shop. She looked nervous when she saw me, but I didn't give her time to hesitate. "Do you have the recording?" She pulled it from the drawer behind the counter. "It's all there," she said. Her voice, her exact words. She knew I was recording? She knew you needed to hear it from someone other than yourself. I pressed play. Jolene's voice came through, sharp, smug, venom in velvet. "Let's ruin her reputation. She always gets away with everything, not this time." I closed the phone and slipped it into my coat pocket. "If she's going to lie in front of everyone," Lorraine said, "she deserves to be undone in front of them too." That evening, Mom's dining room looked like a Norman Rockwell painting dipped in tension. Everyone was there. Dean, stiff-backed and nervous. Trent, already drinking. Jolene, radiant in her own mind. "Hope you brought your appetite," she chirped when I walked in. "The turkey's not the only thing that's about to be carved up." I didn't answer. Dinner was mechanical. Forks clinked, fake laughter floated across the table like steam off a dead meal. And then, as Jolene launched into one of her carefully curated stories about how exhausting it is to be envied, I placed my phone on the table. Pressed play. Her voice spilled out between the mashed potatoes and the cranberry sauce. "Let's ruin her reputation." Silence. Mom dropped her wine glass. Dean closed his eyes. Trent didn't blink. Jolene's smile evaporated. What is this? I didn't raise my voice. I didn't even look directly at her. You spent years trying to tear me down. You whispered behind my back, sat at my table, and kissed my child while plotting how to poison everything I built. I stood slowly. I'm still standing, and now so is the truth. Jolene stood abruptly, chair scraping the floor. You ambushed me. No, I said. You did that to yourself. She left. No one stopped her. That night, Ellis put Sadie to bed while I sat alone in the kitchen, hands around a mug I never drank from. It was done. I didn't feel victorious. I felt emptied, like something had finally bled out and left room for something cleaner to grow in its place. My phone buzzed. A message from my boss. Let's talk Monday. I saw what happened tonight. I turned the screen off. Monday could wait. Chapter 8. The morning after felt quieter than any silence I'd known. There wasn't tension hanging in the air, just absence. An absence of denial, an absence of cover. Jolene didn't show up. Dean texted me mid-morning. I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Sometimes people apologize too late and hope silence will stamp it clean. But I'd already stopped asking for closure. Darlene didn't call. She didn't check on Sadie. She didn't ask what it meant that her daughter had been publicly unmasked as the orchestrator of a campaign against her own blood. Lorraine stopped by with scones and a single sentence. You didn't win by exposing her. You won by surviving her. I looked at her and nodded. It was the first time in years I felt seen without being pitied. That evening, Sadie curled up in Ellis's lap, a book half falling from her hand. He rocked her gently while I sipped lukewarm tea, listening to the ticking of the old wall clock I'd once considered replacing. We didn't talk about Jolene, or my mother, or what the fallout might look like. We talked about Maine, about the cabin rental I'd bookmarked months ago and never dared open again. Maybe we go after the holidays, Ella said. Snow's thick enough then for Sadie to think it's magic. I smiled, tired but lighter. I used to think revenge would fix the past, I murmured. Turns out it only clears the path forward. The phone rang early the next day. My boss. His voice was softer than usual. I saw the video, he said. You didn't deserve any of that. I owe you an apology. We'll be retracting the complaint, he added. Your record's being cleared. Thank you, I said. And that was it. No tears, no trembling, just air, finally moving through me again. That afternoon, I drove to Darlene's house. The walk from the driveway to her front door felt longer than it should have. She opened the door with a look I couldn't read, part fear, part pride still clinging to her posture. Can we talk? I asked. She stepped aside, didn't offer coffee. I stood in her living room, the same couch where she once sat Jolene next to Trent and said, This family moves forward. We don't dwell. I looked her in the eyes. I'm not here for your apology. I just want you to know. I raised myself through your silence. She looked like she might speak, but didn't. That's okay, I said. This isn't for you. It's for me. I walked out without waiting for a response. Later that evening, I took Sadie down to the beach near our home. The wind was soft, the waves steady, the sky bled orange and lavender. I let Sadie chase birds down the shore while I walked behind, slower, watching, breathing. Some things don't heal, but they don't have to stay open either. When we got home, there was a single envelope in the mailbox. No return name, just a San Francisco address. Inside, a postcard, 4 words, handwritten. You'll always land on your feet. No signature, just that. And I smiled because I knew exactly who had sent it. Chapter 9. Sometimes survival isn't loud. It isn't made of revenge or applause. It's quiet choices, choosing to walk away, choosing to protect your peace even when no one claps for it. I've learned that silence can be a weapon, but it can also be a shield. And when people try to write your story for you, you pick up the pen and say, No, this is mine. If you've ever been gaslit, betrayed, or made to feel invisible in your own family, I see you. You are not alone. And healing? It doesn't always come with closure. Sometimes it's just choosing yourself again and again, until it becomes natural. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to let go of someone without getting the apology? What gave you the strength to move on? Drop a comment below and share your story. Let's connect. And if this story hits something deep inside you, leave a 1 in the comments or tell me where you're watching from. If it didn't speak to you, I want to know why. Feedback helps us grow. Make sure to subscribe to this channel if you want more stories like this, raw, real, and rooted in truth. Your support helps keep these voices alive. See you in the next one.